Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's card I'm going to do the reveal wheel using Lawn Fawn's reveal wheel dies, and I've got a blank panel and then the one that I've cut out using the reveal wheel sort of add-ons. This is one of them that comes with the reveal wheel die, and it's just a section that cuts out so that you can reveal something underneath or behind it. So I'm going to start by I'm using some watercolor paper here. This is W.H. Smith's watercolor paper, and I'm just using some Mermaid Lagoon, Faded Jeans and Blueprint Sketch distressings to ink up the whole thing. I thought I'd go back to my good old watercolor paper, and I cut all the pieces out of it, and I thought I would do some good old ink blending and splatter and stuff. So I thought I'd go back to that. And so I'm just layering up and blending each section together to create sort of a night sky. I probably could have done it a little darker. I could have added some black soot along the edges just to make it more of a nighttime scene, which I didn't do in the end. So what I'm going to do is now take the scallop circle die that actually is part of the reveal wheel, and I've just sort of got the same sort of color tone that's behind that opening on the front panel, so that you will see that, and it'll be the same sort of color. So I'm going to take some water from a distress sprayer now and just spritz all over it just to create some sort of texture in the background. And yeah, really easy to do. You can use a paintbrush and water as well and do the same thing, but I love the distress sprayer, so I highly recommend it. And also, being watercolor cardstock, it just takes the moisture a bit better. And then of course I've got this Old Faithful spray bottle that is still sticking around and still probably needs filling up now, because I've used the crud out of it. So I just used the nozzle and just splattered on some of the shimmer spray that's in it. It's a mica powder from Ranger that I just used. And then I'm just cleaning up my media mat. This is the Waffle Flower Water Media Mat. I think that's what it's called. I always get that wrong. And then I'm taking some Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn distressings on this. And I had some brown ink on that brush, but you won't notice it in the end. And this is using the mushroom. It's a Lawn Fawn die, and it's got a mushroom die as well as the same curve of like a die for the grass. So it's the grass part of that, and you'll see the mushrooms coming up as well. And I just thought they were really good, for this particular card. I thought they worked really, really well. I also think that I should have probably done the Twisted Citron and the Mowed Lawn the other way round, and you'll see why when we get to the card and putting things together. It'll make more sense then. So now I'm going to take the mushrooms, I believe, and I'm going to use some antique linen because I thought that was a good color for the stalks of the mushroom. And I'm just going to ink very carefully because there's a couple of pieces on where the mushrooms cut on the edges that is quite delicate. I also, just in case you've noticed, there's a stitching around the edge of all of these edges, and I've used the same die that I used for the reveal wheel. Sorry, I lost my thought there. And I actually used the same edge so that they all have the same edge. So I just put it against a piece of cardstock and cut that, and then cut so it had the stitching, and then I cut using the mushroom border die or the grass die, and that way all of them have got stitching on. Some of them you're not going to see, so it's not a big deal, but it makes a difference, and it just sort of finishes it off, and it all sort of lines up, and it all has that stitching around the edges, which I think is very cool. The other color I used on the mushrooms for the ground was some brushed corduroy, and now I'm using some candied I can't even talk today, candied apple distressing over the mushroom tops. And what I did was actually left them where I die cut them, and you'll see later I've got a piece of washi tape behind there. It just makes it easier when you're trying to color these in, whether you're using distressings or any other ink, or you're trying to color them with like a Copic marker or a watercolor marker or something like that. Just makes it easier because they're so tiny, if that makes sense. So it just holds them in place for you quite nicely. I then spritz them with some water. The mushrooms, to be fair, you can't really see that. I mean, you can a little bit, but not so much. And then I'm going to take each of the colors. In hindsight, I probably, and again, I didn't clean this brush very well. Note to self, clean your stuff. But you know, it still worked out, and it worked fine for the rest of it. In hindsight, I could have used just a darker shade of, or the darker of the colors to splatter with, or just even a darker shade still to give some more texture. But I just used color on color, same color, to give them some extra texture, and sort of, you know, just to add more of that splatter effect, which we all love. Well, I do. I kind of want to splatter everything. And I did these cards over the course of a few days. So I did a whole load of inking, and then so this week's videos are fab. Stick around for all of them. They're very cool. I'm really chuffed with how they all turned out. If I do say so myself, which I don't often do, so I'm quite pleased with how they turned out. So now I'm going to stamp the sentiment now before I get to really sticking things together. Just thought this was a good time to do that rather than trying to do this after I'd had all my layers together. So I decided in the end to put it on the grassy bit at the bottom, and I'm going in a slower motion now. Well, this isn't real time. It's not slow motion, but it's real time. This is how slow I am. And I'm going to show you how this reveal wheel works. And this is a much easier way than I showed you on the Halloween Tabby Cat one. So you've got a plain panel at the back. You've got this little circle that these all dies in the set. And you have this scallop circle. So at the back of the scallop circle, you're going to put the little circle. And you're going to take a brad, which I didn't mention. You'll need a brad for this, and you're going to put the brad through the back of these two together, and then open the little leg things, whatever they're called, and that's essentially the mechanism to help the wheel move. Now, to give some height to that so that that doesn't interfere with anything, you're going to then, on the back of the little wheel, you're going to put some like pop dot dimensionals foam adhesive so that there's some dimension, but you don't want it touching the brad, and you don't want it to be over the edge of that little circle. You want it to fit within that. So you'll see that in a second. So I'm actually going to cut some of these foam dots down, adhesive dots, whatever you call them. These are Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, but anything like this, just if you've got little square ones that will fit in that section, then that's fine too. It's just as long as it doesn't touch the brad or go over the edge of the little circle, because that will stop the whole mechanism from working at all. You'll basically stick the thing down. So you don't want to do that. So hopefully you can see enough here to see how I've stuck those, and I'll show you it still turns. So now we're going to take these little backers off, and I'm going to show you, and this is what I should have done in my little tabby fortune teller tabby card. There are some little embossed lines. Now there are also some templates that Lawn Fawn has for a lot of these, and I didn't use that this time because I didn't really need to. But with these little lines, you can, if you line up the edge, the top of that score line that's in the scallop circle, line it up with the top of your opening, and also line up the left of it. So you'll see me fiddle with it for a little bit. It's a little easier when you're just doing it. You'll get used to it. But I'm just going to sort of run through it and show you that you line up the top and the left, and that will put it in place. So now, holding those two together, you're now going to stick this to your plain, your one that doesn't have a hole in it basically, and it's easy to line up because it's exactly the same die. So the reveal wheel has like a rectangle, there's a square one as well, but a rectangle that cuts out, and then you add, when you cut your second panel, you add your opening. So that's essentially the mechanism in place. Now to put the top layer on, all you're going to do is you're going to put adhesive dots or foam adhesive, and I would use the same height that the same type and height that you've used for the wheel, and you're going to put it all the way around on the spare space, if you like, but don't let it touch any of the wheel itself, because you want that wheel to move, otherwise you're stopping the whole mechanism from working. And also just not too close in case it catches. But it's really, really easy, and this is what I should have done on that tabby cat card. This would have been so much easier than the way that I ended up doing it, and yeah, I mean, it worked out okay, but it really was not the easiest thing, because, you know, I'm silly and I forgot to do it this way, which is so much easier. So, and that one I actually used the square reveal wheel, which is like a separate set that you can get. So I'm just going to finish putting on these little foam adhesives. And also with your foam adhesive, just while I'm doing this and taking all the pieces apart, all the backings off, don't forget all the edges. See, I've used a lot of those edges, and here I'm just checking to make sure it does still run without any interference from the foam. All those edging pieces, it's all like the leftovers, so don't waste that stuff. That stuff's, you know, if you've got a sheet of like pop dot things and you've used all the pop dots and you've got all the backing there, that's all sticky still, so just cut it up and use it. No one's going to see it, so just use it, otherwise it's just, you know, it's more waste and you don't want to waste it. So I'm just getting all the backers off now. And also, if you're using strips like that, it's so much quicker than trying to take all the 10,000 little pieces off. So if you've got foam on a roll, that's a bit easier as well for things like this. And you're just going to line up the front with the back. They are the same size, they're the same die, they're cut the same way. So it just makes it super easy. And that is essentially your reveal wheel. So now you've got your wheel within the two pieces and the little opening. Now, normally, and the whole purpose of a reveal wheel is to reveal something when you're turning that wheel. So you could have sentiments. In the tabby cat one, I had different little eyeballs and stuff like that because of how I'd created that card. But for this, I'm going to do something a little bit different, or a little bit different for me. So I thought it was quite clever on my part, because I saw this idea and I thought, oh, that's so genius. And then I had to think about what I actually owned that would work and still be able to do this little thing. So to start with, I'm just going to put all my little mushrooms together, and I have sped through this bit for you guys because I know this is a longer video than normal, but I wanted to really show you how to put that reveal wheel together. So this week all the videos are technique videos, or like for kinetic cards. So yeah, stay tuned, because I've got two more very cool ones for the Halloween and Christmas, which is where I'm at the moment with all my, if you guys have noticed. So I'm just getting these guys on, and those two on the sides, I will cut them off when the glue's dried. I just need to get all the little insides out. The insides out? That sounds funny. Get all the insides out, and then I can stick them on. But isn't that cute? That's so cute. And that grassy border will actually fit right up underneath the mushrooms themselves, so it looks like the mushrooms are actually coming up from the grass. But I actually cut them a little bit lower so that I've got space for what I want to put in there. So yeah, so hopefully you'll understand the idea behind this. It was a little story, I guess. So let me just get this last one on, and then I'll be able to trim down the edges of that. Now you can also stick it onto the card first and then cut them down, but I don't think I do that. I think I cut them off first, and I just used a piece of the washi tape to pick up all those bits that were stuck to my desk. Makes sense, right? gets a bit sticky and gets rid of it. Right, so I'm just trimming the edges of these, and these are some Tim Holtz. They're like the little scissors. I think these are I want to say they're the 5-inch. Is that what they're called, the 5-inch ones? Not sure, but they're brilliant. I use them. I've got 3 sets of them in different sizes, and they are fab. Even my husband asks for them every now and again. He's like, "Where's those scissors you've got?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, my Timmy ones." And he knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I'm leaving all the mushrooms without any adhesive behind them, except those 2 side ones, just because they are where the dye, where it's landed up cutting with the dye. They're a bit more delicate because of being right on the edge, especially the one on the left. It's got a very small neck to it. And then the grass on the front, I'm going to actually put on some more adhesive dots, so that I can foam dots, so that I can just I want to be able to stick something behind there, which is what you're going to see now. So I used Lawn Fawn's Bugs and Kisses and Fairy Friends stamp sets for this. And I had this idea that there would be a little fairy, and she would be popping or sprinkling, that's the word, sprinkling fairy dust from above into this jar, and this jar would glow. So I searched, guys, for info or how-tos on how to get the sparkly fairy dust to glow within that jar using Copic markers, and I honestly really struggled for that. So if anybody knows anybody who's done that, please link them below so that I can watch their videos. I really struggled. So that's the idea behind it. It's supposed to look like it's glowing fairy dust, which is why the nighttime scene as well, or my attempt at nighttime scene, which is why I thought actually it needed more like maybe some black soot around the edges. And also why I think the grass, I should have put my mowed lawn and my Twisted Citron the other way around, because the Twisted Citron is a brighter green, and it would have looked like the glow coming from the jar. That was the idea anyway. So that was, my little brain and the way that it thinks sometimes. So this little fairy is actually going to go inside that reveal wheel section. But it means that because I've got that cut out section, she'll only go within that section because of that foam dot. So that for me, I don't know, that was the idea I had, that now she looks like she's flying across the sky and sprinkling fairy dust down onto these guys and into the jar. So that was the story behind it, and that's where the idea came from. So it's a little silly, I know, but I thought it was cute. So yes, if anybody knows how to get the, colouring of Copics, how to get that glow from within something, like if something's in a jar, please let me know, because I really was at a loss as to how to get it to really look like it was glowing, because some people do amazing stuff, but I just couldn't find anything, any like tutorials on it. So within the, so the jar is the only thing that I used from the Bugs and Kisses. But everything else comes from Fairy Friends, and I cut these little, I don't know, like vine things, these twirly little things. You could do them in like a I suppose like a green or a brown maybe, but like a green, so they're kind of like a plant with the little lanterns hanging off them. I kind of thought wrought iron. I don't know why wrought iron and fairies, but I thought raw iron, so that's where that idea came from. That's why they're in black. And then they've got the little lanterns on them. And I'm just putting these little fairies on, sort of at different places. That's also why I had to put the piece of grass on foam, is so that I could tuck my jar behind it so it looks like it's in the grass, which I thought was kind of clever on my part. And then this last little twirly thing, I didn't know what to do with it. So I could have put it there actually, just like that, and afterwards I think maybe I should have done that, but I didn't. In the end I decided that it could just be an extra little something sort of coming out, like a vine coming out from somewhere else. So I actually ended up sticking it at the top there, but of course being in black now it doesn't totally make sense, but it's fine. It's nighttime. I'm going to go with that. Let's just go with that. So I'm just going to trim that down. Now this is basically the card, and you could easily just write a message on the back, and that could be your card. That as a whole card could be it. But I decided to put it onto a card base. So I'm going to use some navy cardstock from Stampin' Up, and I'm just going to stick that onto the card base. The other thing by doing this is that I can also, and I nearly forget this, but I do put it on, is that where the wheel is, you can actually put a little arrow, and there is an arrow that you can die cut from the die set. But because of how this is working, I need people to know that they can go up and down rather than just one way and just keep turning it one way. So in the end, I will actually draw on a little double arrow. So I'm taking some shimmer now. This is Nouveau, I never remember the name of this, Aqua Shimmer. And I don't know what's wrong with my tube. I don't know if it's leaking or what it is, but it's playing up. So how dare it, while I'm doing a video. So I'm just going over all the stars and that fairy dust in the bottle, on the all the wings of the fairies, and then also the little sparkles that she's, that have dropped down. And then I'm using some glossy accents over the top of the lanterns to show that they're like that shiny glass look. Well, that's the idea anyway in my head. So I could have actually, I don't think I did the star on her little wand. I could have done that as well and put maybe a bit of glossy accents on that too. But you can do as much as you want on this. It's completely up to you. But that's it, guys. It's super simple to do. A much easier way of doing a reveal wheel. And this is where I'm putting the little arrow on. A much easier way of doing a reveal wheel than what I did in my little kitty cat one. But I still think it was good fun to do this, and I'm glad I did it because I still like the idea in my head. I just think there's some stuff I could work on to make this a bit better. But I hope you like this, and I hope you have enjoyed the first of 3 kinetic cards. I seem to have a theme every week. I don't know why. Not saying that'll happen all the time, but at the moment it seems to be. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.